fabulous. So fabulous. It's like being 20 years younger all of a sudden. You can see things. It's really great.
So Dave,
Yes.
I was going to pop down, but considering the painful length of the previous meeting.
Yeah, but you don't, two things. One, I noticed you don't have your earbuds in, and two, we don't hear the waterfall though.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. That was such a good change.
Yeah, but I bought him technology that he's not using, so.
Yep, they're right here. I have used them, but I had Tanya also do some work on my Surface. So.
All right, next time.
So we got a win-win.
Right.
So everyone's here, or everyone's at home. It looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll call the meeting of Wednesday, March 16th, 2022 of the Strathcona Gardens to order and look for adoption of the public agenda, please.
Move adoption.
Second.
Any discussion? Anyone opposed? That is carried. No petitions or delegations. And adoption of the previous minutes of February 9th, 2022.
Move adoption.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Anyone opposed? That is carried. The chair's report. I just want to say that I have been at Strathcona Gardens the last couple of weeks for a number of events and functions. And I just want to compliment all of the staff for just bouncing back and getting the facility up and operating and acting in such a responsible and professional manner. It's great. The feedback coming from the users in the community has been that they are so relieved to be able to be back in and doing their programs and activities and games and whatever it is. So just on behalf of the community and the commission, thank you to staff. Moving to staff reports, the Recreate project, detailed design and grant opportunities. Thank you. I believe that was Commissioner Evans and seconded by Commissioner Lee. So discussion.
I think, Mr. Chair, if unless I'm incorrect there, I think we have a presentation. Wolf and HTMA have a presentation on the design. Wolf,
excellent.
Am I correct there?
And if we were in person, I'm sure there would be popcorn for everybody. But
yeah, I think it's pretty exciting. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Through the chair and the CAO to the Strathcona Gardens Commission. I just want to start with a quick project status update of design work, schedule, budget, information sessions coming up, and grant applications, if you don't mind, before I can pass this to our prime consultant, our architect, Paul Fast, and his team. So just great news about the detailed design. It's progressing really well. A couple of weeks we received from HCMA and the group of subconsultants a complete design development package. This is the first time that we actually get to see a lot of the areas and cross sections and details and complete reports for the project, and it's really exciting. And you're going to hear more from Paul when I finish this update. The entire team came to Campbell River a week ago, and they did a presentation to SRD managers and Strathcona Gardens managers of the work that they are completing and designing and coordinating among the other disciplines, and that was really great. On behalf of the regional district, we would like to thank HCMA and the group of sub-consultants for this great presentation that they did. In terms of the schedule, the detailed design is scheduled to be completed July 2022. There is a little bit of a delay, and this is due to the exercise that we had to do back in February when we received a schematic design and cost reports, and the cost report was showing a total cost of the project that was exceeding the total project budget that was approved. So we have to go through a very detailed value engineering exercise to align that to the approved budget. We have incurred an additional cost. This is required in order to support the prime consultant, the some consultants. We needed to engage a geotechnical consultant. We needed to engage arborists and other testing agencies to do to conduct destructive testing and provide reports that will help the consultants to continue with the detailed design. In terms of information sessions, we organized already and had meetings with the authority having jurisdiction, the city of Campbell River. We did a great presentation to that about a month ago. We also met with Vancouver Island Health because that's also part of the approval process when the project moves into construction. And those two presentations went really well. And the next steps are for the SRD to submit a design development to the city of Campbell Rivers for them to provide comments that we will review and incorporate into the design once we move this into the last stage, which is the construction drawings. We have information sessions that we're going to be organizing for April. These information sessions are to the First Nation groups. We also have information sessions for Strathcona Gardens staff, the aquatic user groups, the fitness and rehabilitation user groups as well, and also the City of Campbell River Recreation Leadership Team. HCMA will be part of these presentations in conjunction with SRD management. And my last item is related to grant opportunities. So back in July 9th, 2021, a recommendation was put to the commission to submit an application, a grant application to the Green and Inclusive Community Building Program. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to do that because they froze the program due to the elections back in September. So we haven't been able to see that launch back. I keep monitoring the website and email them, and we haven't been able to get an answer, or they haven't been able to announce a second intake. So we're still waiting for that. However, our regional district is continue looking at opportunities for us to apply for a grant, and we're now in conversations with the mechanical and the sustainability consultant to look and see if we meet the requirements of the Clean BC Communities Fund that was announced February 1st, 2022. It's very positive that it looks very positive that we're going to be able to put an application to them, and I'm going to provide more details once I have a meeting with them later next week. The closing date for this program is May 26th, and I will be again writing a report for the next meeting coming up in April. So that is my update, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. Other than that, I would like to pass this to Paul Fass and his team just to provide a complete update on the technical side. Thank you.
Okay, and just before we go to Paul, are there any questions for Wolfgang? I just have one. Is there, Wolfgang, if at any time you need myself or members of the commission to assist in lobbying or trying to open doors, please don't hesitate to ask.
Thank you, Mayor Adams, and I'm pretty sure I will as soon as we submit an application.
Thank you. Paul, welcome. It's been a while.
It has been a while, and thank you for having me this afternoon. I wish we were together in person because I've always enjoyed those sessions, but here we are, and hopefully we can be together in person soon. I'm just wondering, Wolf, would you like me to share my screen and the presentation from my screen so I can control the slides, or what's the best way to do this?
That is, yeah, I'm sorry, Edie, if you don't mind, or maybe IT can suggest what's the best way of doing it.
It would be fine for them to share their screen.
Okay, and I'll just pull it up here.
Thank you.
1 second. Okay, how's that? Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, good. So again, thank you for having me this afternoon. As Wolfgang mentioned, we are busy working away, and we're getting into detailed design now, which is great. We've had the engineers and the whole design team up to Campbell River several times. We anticipate we'll be up there again in the next month or two, and so we've made lots of good progress, and I think we're in good shape. The big pieces are really falling into place well, and so what I'd like to do today is walk you through the design and where we're at. Some of you may recall that I presented the earlier sort of feasibility or schematic design stage a year or two ago. And so there have been some things that have changed since then. So what I'd like to do is just walk you through right from the start and lay the framework for how we're approaching the design now. That said, the priorities of the design really haven't changed, and I think we're really honoring the spirit of what this project was intended to be right from the start. So in that spirit, the vision statement, which may look familiar to you, is as follows. The renewed Strathcona Gardens will be a place where fitness, rehabilitation, therapy, competitive, and recreational sport form a uniquely holistic approach to wellness that is vital to the social fabric of Campbell River and the surrounding region. It will be a place where people rally around a team and each other and create opportunities for true community to be forged, whether that's in the water, on the ice, or around a cup of coffee. And that's a statement that was put together based on feedback from a whole variety of stakeholders, including yourselves, in the feasibility stage. And so we're honoring the spirit of that and embedding those principles in the design. The project itself, of course, you know where the site is, but it's interesting when you look at this perspective. It sort of straddles the middle between the ocean and the forest, and Campbell River as a city, as a region, you're sort of straddling that area between the wilderness and the ocean, and that's a unique position to be in for the project. The site itself obviously is surrounded by a number of institutional facilities, and we've been working to understand how best to connect to those from a pedestrian and from a transportation perspective. This is an interesting animation here that shows you the sort of history of the development of your site in particular. And I think particularly striking is sort of the pre-development context where everything in this area was forested, and the forest both as an industry but also as an environment is important to the identity of your area. And so we're recognizing that that's both literally for the history of the site, but also for the design concept for the building itself.
And Paul, I'll just mention that on that last slide, clipping through really quickly, that there have been just shy of 1,000 new residential units within a block of this facility in the past 4 years.
Yes, that's right. That's been mentioned. So there is significant growth happening around this area in particular. So that certainly heightens the kind of need for this facility. And we know we've been talking about with the city of Campbell River as well about where to connect through for pedestrian connections to access those residential units. And so there's lots of good background information there.
Commissioner Lee?
In the vision statement, you mention this facility is for Campbell River and the surrounding regions, and I think that's inaccurate. Area D has been a major partner in Strathcona Gardens since 1972. We've put millions and millions of dollars into this facility from our taxpayers, and the people that use the facility, that pay for it, are the City of Campbell River and Electoral Area D taxpayers. And we've had trouble in the past with the surrounding region in general using our facility, like Quadra Island and Sayward use our facility without paying anything towards it in taxation or supports. And I think Area D needs to be recognized in that vision statement that we're not just part of the surrounding region. We are a partner in this facility and we are invested in it. Nobody else is. Just Campbell River and Area D.
Thank you, Brenda. I think that's a fair comment to clearly identify the two key stakeholders.
Yeah, and I think until we work out, user agreements with other outside areas like Quadra and Sayward and Black Creek, maybe, we don't have any money coming in from them. So really, it's not about them. It's about our taxpayers getting services for that facility. So I'd like that to be changed in the vision statement.
We'll work with that. Thank you.
Also, that just the word I thought it was recreate. I thought it was RE-create, because the way that brand is, it's really awkward. Create, it doesn't sound right. Didn't we have recreate?
Yes, Commissioner Lee, you're correct. And that's a small typo on the just
Okay,
on the
it's
PowerPoint template here.
recreate. So when we put it to government, we've got the same brand and we're talking about the same project, and it just looks awkward.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
all of the reports that have been issued for the project have the correct branding identified on it.
Okay.
Great. Thanks, Paul. Carry on.
So the site itself, we're working with the existing zoning and setbacks. There's no major changes anticipated there. We're working with your planning department at the city we've had some really productive conversations with them about the overall permitting process, but also about design and any variances that are required for the development of this project. The topography itself, of course, you will know this, but there was a historically significant slope to the site that has been backfilled, and so we're dealing with a geotechnical condition there. We've done the testing, so we understand what soils conditions we're dealing with, but that is a design constraint that we're working with. The vehicular access will have changed since the last time we talked. In particular, that previously we were talking about accessing the site through just primarily the frontage here on the front. We are now, for the immediate future, able to maintain access to the back part of the site around the arena as well, because that piece of the scope has been deferred. And so there will be two ways to get into the parking lot, which is the legacy condition you have already, or the existing condition. And then the parking, of course, there's been traffic studies that have been done that identify that we are able to accommodate a sufficient amount of parking on site, with some overflow to neighboring streets and properties required for major events when those occur. The approach to the site, this is going to come up sort of thematically later on a little bit, but one of the things that is, when you do approach from Dogwood, it's interesting how the city of Campbell River sort of emerges after you pass through this really dense forested area. And I think it just reinforces the idea that a lot of the identity of your area, whether it's Area D or the city proper, is really embedded in the kind of historic forest use that was in that place. And wood and the use of wood is going to be really important as a design element in this project. And so it connects through to even like the arrival sequence of arriving at the site. Your existing building, of course, is a well-loved building. We've heard that from staff. We've heard that from community members. This is a really important part of the services that you provide, and yet the building has its challenges from a technical standpoint. There's lots of things that your staff are dealing with there, and so it's timely, of course, to consider this project. And the program mix that you're able to offer here is actually quite unique in the sense that it's pretty diverse and accommodates a broad programming mix with a very particular focus on wellness. And that focus on wellness and rehabilitation is supported very strongly by the services you provide through that center, and is something that is a cornerstone of the aquatics programming and the fitness programming in the new design. So from a programming standpoint, this is the full sort of laundry list of spaces that are being included in the programming to date. And so the aquatics component has the 8-lane 25-meter pool. It'll have a 1-meter springboard, the climbing wall, a leisure pool with all sorts of amenities, the wellness pool, which is the pool that supports your rehabilitation programming. hot pool, water slide, change rooms, lifeguard stations, and all of the support spaces. We've managed to develop some really interesting outdoor spaces in conjunction with that, related to the aquatic space, but also just the general kind of social life of the facility. We've got some multi-purpose rooms, the wellness center itself, which is the places in which practitioners will come and assess and then treat patients. A really large new fitness space that's going into the existing pool area, administration and gathering spaces, and then we're also dealing with a much needed addition of an ice melt pit, an indoor ice melt pit for your arena. So this is from a three-dimensional aerial perspective, this is your building as it stands right now. So you can see the parking configuration there, the site access off of Dogwood with Pinecrest in the back. And from a massing standpoint, the pool, we're locating that obviously out on the prominent corner of the site. And then we're wrapping it in this, what we're calling this sort of connective wrap. And that connective wrap houses the change rooms, the smaller pool tanks, the new reception area. And really what it does is it stitches in this really big new pool with your existing building in a way that is kind of quiet and cohesive and makes it look like it's going to, like it fits with the existing building. So it's not just something we're dropping on the site and then we walk away, but it's actually integrated as coherently as possible. From a phasing standpoint, this is a tricky job. And so we've spent a lot of time with the construction manager walking through the different ways in which this building will actually be constructed. And essentially, we're dealing with three different conditions. One is the existing building, which will not be touched. Then there's the new building out in the front in the yellow. And then we've got the renovation portion of that in between the two. The site plan here, and I hope you can see my cursor because I'm going to try and use that here. We've made some really good improvements to the site plan from what we'd previously been working on. And what it does is allow for sort of a seamless entry into the site here off of Dogwood. And then we've created a larger drop-off loop that also allows for accessible parking close to the facility entrance so that patrons, whether they're coming for therapy and rehab in the wellness center, or just they just need one of those spaces. Those are a direct line of sight and a direct shot to the front door from that parking area. So that's working much better now. We're able to accommodate just to the south of the pool here, an outdoor aquatic space that's south facing. And so that's a terrace that you can go out from the pool and you can catch some sun and then go back into the pool and still be within the fair paid zone. And then in the middle here, we've got this larger sort of naturalized plaza, and that will support a range of social activities from just sort of areas to have a coffee and let your kids run around to more active spaces up closer to the existing building here. There will also be space for bike parking right close to the front entrance. And then the north, west, and north side of the site is largely going to be turned into, there'll be a planting landscape there that will be fairly natural in its context, and you'll see the sort of flavor of that in the renderings. The floor plan itself is basically the natatorium, what we call the pool here on the left with all of the tanks, the change rooms here in the middle block, and then the existing natatorium or pool area, which will then house the wellness and the fitness center. And then we've got the existing office and reception area, which will be converted just purely to office use in the new condition. The cross section of that, if you were to slice this building through from the arena, the existing Rob Brindamore arena to the new pool, would look something like this. And so if you can see my cursor here, right in the middle, this is your existing lobby entry. And so we're stretching that lobby space out through here, what we're calling the social heart, all the way into that new pool. And so there will be a continuous connection from your existing lobby all the way through to the new building, and really good sight lines as well. The circulation, so your main front door will be right here in this little triangle bit. And then you'll come in, and if you recall, the earlier schemes always prioritized a direct line of sight and circulation from the left to the right, and that's still embedded in this plan. So it's a very intuitive wayfinding scheme. It'll make sense to people that are coming into the building for the first time or repeat users. So you'll go in that front door and you'll look to your left, you'll be able to see directly into the pool, or you'll look to your right and you'll see through the old lobby to the arena spaces on your right. And those visual connections also permeate through the building as well. And so there's a really kind of rich experience of the facility that can come from opening up view corridors into the fitness space, into the pool, into the arenas. And so we're leveraging that as much as we can. We're also designing the change rooms. The universal change rooms will have closed cubicles. And so what that allows us to do is actually open up sight lines through the change area, which makes it much safer and would significantly reduce issues of theft from lockers, vandalism, things like that in your change areas. And so those are all good things that are coming out of the new planning. The pool itself is going to be a great facility, and there's lots of good things in here. So the lap pool on the left, of course, you've done a lot of good homework in terms of fundraising for a climbing wall, so that will be incorporated over here on the left. There will be a 1 meter springboard that gives the kids a bit of fun there. There will be also starting blocks on this side here to allow for the training or the competitive use of that facility. There's also a modest amount of spectator seating located on the left-hand side here for when you are hosting those smaller local meets. There'll be a water slide. Your existing slide that came up often in our public engagement, that it was a very well-loved feature especially by the kids, of course. So that's going in. The leisure pool will have a variety of different functions. There will be sort of a beach entry and spray area for tots, and then there'll be a lazy river on the south side, and then a whole bunch of other spray features and things like that that'll keep the kids entertained. And we're designing that as versatile as possible, so you can also use it for swimming lessons if you like. On the north side, we've got the two pools that have a slightly different focus. One is the hot pool, and what we're finding in buildings like this is you can't build hot tubs big enough anymore. Like they're becoming a huge focus and feature, and people really love hanging out in them. Doesn't matter what age you are, and so we're designing a really large hot pool for you so that lots of people that has a large capacity. That will have a ramp into it, so you can make your way in there regardless of your ability level. And then the wellness pool is just located off to the right here, and that will be the primary basin that supports the training, therapy, and rehab functions of your facility. And so there will be a full ramp into that pool, an extra wide ramp. There will be handrails in there to accommodate the different training procedures that your trainers will be using. And we're also incorporating some unique sort of accessibility features into those pools. So the north side will have a raised edge. You can see the blow-up version here on the left. What that allows is for patients that have mobility challenges, it's a much easier way to transfer into a body of water than if it's flush at the pool deck level. And so it's less up and down, less vertical movement. And so we're really focusing on making this a place for people of all abilities. And one of the ways in which we're doing that is by certifying this project under the Rick Hansen Foundation program, which is one of the most rigorous standards out there for accessibility, and applies not just to the pool tanks, but to all of the change room areas, even out to the parking and the exterior areas. From a sustainability standpoint, we are, of course, you've done a lot of really good work already in this building with the heat recovery project and all of the work done under that project. And so we're building off of that. We're leveraging that work. We're tying in the heat recovery to that existing project and utilizing the new boilers that you installed as part of that. So those will be transferred over to the new building. And we're also making this building zero carbon ready under the CAGBC Zero Carbon Building Certification Standard. And that does two things for you. Firstly, it's going to mean a more robust envelope, so better insulation, less air leakage, which is good from a overall maintenance and durability standpoint. And secondly, and from an energy consumption standpoint, And secondly, it's also going to make you more eligible for a lot of the grant programs that we're seeing out there. And so we're seeing all of the grant, like Clean BC, are really specifically requiring projects to achieve standards like this out in the market. From a mechanical standpoint, it'll be a state-of-the-art system that we're implementing here, including new regenerative DE filters. We're also making sure that these systems we put in are that your operators are comfortable using them. So we don't want to put in something that nobody's familiar with, and so there's been a lot of discussion with your staff around what they're familiar with and comfortable with operating. We're also making sure that we achieve really high indoor air quality standards in the pool in particular. And I don't know if you can. Oftentimes, what we hear from the public is that they're really struggling with the levels of chlorine in the air in pools, and so we're taking strides towards making that significantly better, using things like gutter exhaust to pull trichloramines right off the surface level of the pool and things like that. From an electrical standpoint, again, lots of good infrastructure updates that have happened to the facility already. And we're going to be using a lighting strategy that relies heavily on indirect lighting. So not making people look at super bright lights when they're swimming, but washing the building and the wood in light as an indirect strategy, which is more comfortable for occupants. The project phasing. So this is the way in which the building will be constructed in 3 separate phases. The first phase will be all of the new natatorium and the bulk of the change room. And so you can see that red dashed line right here. And what that means is your existing pool in its entirety can stay up and running while we build the new one. It does mean some challenging sort of interface conditions. And so you will have a smaller change room during the first phase or during the second phase. When we take down your existing pool and renovate that into the new fitness area, you're going to have a slightly smaller change room than when we finally build out the full change room in the third phase. But there's a number of sort of like tricky interfaces here that we're getting input on from the construction manager to make sure that's all going to work. And then this is the third phase, which is really those remaining bits that tie the whole building together. The roof is an important piece from a design perspective, from a structural standpoint, from a cost standpoint. And so, the approach that we've taken is really wanting to leverage the importance of wood in your economy, in your place in that region. And so we started to develop a concept here, which is a really light lattice work that's cladding a heavier duty prefab truss system that is a combination. It's a hybrid steel and glulam truss. And apologies, these images are taking a little bit longer to load because they're big images. So just give it a second here. But the idea there is that the quality of the light that comes through those will be reminiscent of your experience of walking through the forest, which might be just around the site. And so we want to kind of bring that experience of being outside in nature into the natatorium and see that as kind of a key quality for the natatorium space. And so through the sort of series of images, you're seeing the progression of taking those ideas, and those triangular pieces up top are the trusses, and we're designing them so that they can actually be prefabricated in a warehouse under really good tight quality standards, and then shipped to site and brought up on site. And that reduces your construction schedule and makes things more efficient from a constructability standpoint. So I'm just going to scooch. It's taken a couple of seconds here.
Can I ask a quick question while you're moving around?
Sure.
What are these white V's that are sticking out of the pool? Are they structural or are they decorative or?
No, those are structural. So they're breaking down the span of the trusses so that they don't have to be as much. They can be much shallower that way.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. I
just think, we did those kind of V things, pieces of wood in the Lake Cowichan Library. We built them a new library, and I found those things to be cluttery looking, and you're always kind of watching out that you're not going to bump into them when you're walking around in the library anyway. I found them a little bit like awkward, obstructive looking. Like if they weren't there, it'd be nicer, but they're there.
Yeah, and you know, in a perfect world, we would tell our structural engineer just to span from one side of the pool to the other, but you'd end up with trusses that are about 3 times as deep and 3 times as expensive. So
Okay.
it's a pretty big challenge to span all that way with a single truss system. Plans, we've made sure that those columns are out of the path of the main circulation between the pool tanks, and so
Okay.
I'm confident it's not going to impact the usability or the circulation of that space. So I think we're striking that balance between functionality and efficiency.
Okay.
Yeah, and if I can add on that, with the shape of them being narrow at the bottom and then fanning out at the top, it provides that sort of sense of separation from the lap pool or the lane pool to the leisure area, instead of just a big cavernous open gym type space. So I appreciate the comment that, you know, you don't want to be banging into them, but it does give that sense of space within the overall pool area, aquatic area.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I just lost
Also,
lost my screen.
do we have to call it a natatorium? Can't we just call it a pool?
You can call it whatever you want.
I mean, because we live in this very, you know, people are very like, they don't like $10 words. They like straight, easy to comprehend language. And today is the first day I even ever heard the word natatorium.
Yep.
So then I looked it up on Google and it just means pool. So I would tend to call it a pool myself. If I was talking to somebody about it.
You're absolutely right, and I'm slipping into architecture speak, so forgive me for that.
Okay.
We sometimes speak a separate language. So in the industry, when we talk with mechanical engineers and others, that's sort of the sort of language we use to get our point across. But that's it is a pool, yes.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Mayor Adams, to your earlier point about kind of providing some degree of spatial separation, we felt the same way about the wellness zone, and so we've actually deliberately given it a slightly lower ceiling that's acoustically lined, so it'll be a quieter space. It'll have a bit more of an intimate feeling to it, and it'll be off to the side. There'll be lots of benches, so if you're going through an exercise in the training pool, you can hop out and just sit on the bench, enjoy the view outside. There'll be a nice quality of sort of northern light that comes through those windows. And so that's what you're seeing here is the hot pool in front of you, and then the wellness pool just to your left.
Paul, I see Cal has got his hand up for a question.
Thank you, Chair. 2 things. If we want to remove those support posts from beside the main pool, I think Area D would gladly pay for that. Second thing is, Paul, I have 2 sons, and they're both mechanical engineers. So they do, careful on your comments about how they would speak around an architect, because I've heard some of it.
Well, I'm
Thank
sure
you.
you've heard the good, the bad, and the ugly about architects. I'm sure.
Exactly.
So, and then of course, just outside of the pool is a lobby space, and we're framing this with glulam beams across the top. And then you can see here through the middle of the image the views directly into the pool space. Off to your left, we're going to be putting big sliding doors in that open that lobby out to the outside, and so it'll be a sort of a during good weather, you'll be able to just kind of walk in and out of that lobby space, and it'll be a really sort of indoor-outdoor feeling space. And we think that's something that, you know, when I've gone to your existing building, one of the things that's always struck me is the amount of chairs that you have lined up against the wall there, particularly around that old fireplace feature. And so we're hoping that in this new building, there's actually comfortable places for people to sit that are made for people to kind of sit and hang out and just enjoy being around other people. The materials in this building, I think we're looking for, I guess what I call sort of a timeless durability and elegance. And so we're taking our cue from the natural, world that you have all around you. We're using a lot of wood and just simple plain colors that will stand the test of time, that won't look dated after 10 years, and build materials that will also be durable and low maintenance, easy to clean, and robust.
I just wanted to ask. I wanted to ask about the entryway. Like, I spent some time in the rec center in Grand Prairie last year, and they have a beautiful rec center, big one. But as soon as you come through the front door of their rec center, there's a place. There's benches to sit on and take your boots off and take your shoes off, so you're not tracking mud and dirt all through the facility. And they have little cubby holes to put your little wooden cubby holes to put your shoes in. Wouldn't that be a good idea to have near the entryway so you're not mucking up the floors all the time? Like something that would encourage people to take their shoes off?
Yeah, and that's certainly something that we've seen in a lot of Alberta and prairie rec facilities, because oftentimes they're coming with over boots on or galoshes, and so the trick there is they're often carrying their clean shoes in their bag, right? And so if you do need to change shoes, that's a great strategy to do it. And so if that's something staff thinks will work well adjacent to the entry, there's certainly ways we can incorporate that.
I was just thinking it might be nice, if people come in and there's snow on the ground and their shoes are all muddy and mucky, and you don't want them traipsing all through your nice clean facility. It'd be nice if they had a place even off to the side where they could take off their shoes.
Yeah, and those benches work well, both also for people that are waiting to be picked up. Kids that have finished a swimming lesson are waiting for mom or dad to come pick them up, and they have direct sight lines to the drop-off and pickup area. So those locations work well for a number of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So the exterior here, this is the view if you were coming up Dogwood, heading, I guess it would be south. And so you're seeing we're prioritizing glass and windows where you can kind of see the wood, and especially at nighttime, it's really going to glow, and it'll be something you see from far away. It'll be a prominent kind of building up on the corner, and then allowing for sort of more peekaboo views through this lower connective building piece, and then a landscape that sort of wraps it and creates a more natural, organic setting for the building. And then coming the other way, light in pools is a really tricky issue, but you can bring it in well from the south and north without significantly adverse effects from a glare or lifeguarding standpoint. And so we're doing that and putting the glass where it matters most. And so whether you're approaching the building on a bike or just on foot or in a car, you're going to be seeing views in and out of this building, and it'll be really something that kind of provides a vibrancy to the surrounding area, and as you're driving past it.
Will it be hard? Will it be hard to keep it cool in the summer though? Like, we get really hot in the summer, and south-facing windows can be like a really hot space in the summertime.
Yeah, certainly. And our mechanical engineers are doing a detailed energy model as part of this to determine how best to deal with the heat, with the solar gain. And there will be coatings on the glass in particular that help deal with solar gain and with glare as well. So that's the end of my presentation. I've got a slide here just on timeline, but I'm happy to take any more questions or just pass it back to Wolf and the chair.
Any questions or comments from commission members? Commissioner Kerr?
Thanks, Chair, and thanks for the presentation. You held the best to the last. My background is landscaping, and I've always, for 40 odd years, been annoyed by the lack of landscape and attention to the outside of the present project. So some of your concepts and detailing on landscaping are certainly going to make it, anything's an improvement, but it's certainly approve. I like the elimination of the concrete walls and just the way you've treated it. So hopefully it's going to look somewhat like this at the end and not get cut because of budget, but good job.
Thank you. And I did notice as well, Paul, on that west facing wall that would get the majority of the intense sun in the afternoon. You've got trees that kind of buffer that glass space, which would be really helpful. Commissioner Evans.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation, Paul. When I reviewed this in our agenda package, I start to get really excited again because I think you've addressed a lot of the concerns that that I had. I really like the way that you have incorporated just the sight lines, the safety was a concern for me. How you've positioned all the glass and just the access for, as you say, children that are waiting or individuals that'll be coming that have mobility issues. I think from the drawings and what I've seen, I just really like these design concepts. I have a similar concerns, I guess, about the roof, only because I'm just not sure in that environment. I mean, you wouldn't be suggesting this if you didn't feel that this was going to work in the environment. But the challenges with condensation, those are less likely with this type of a roof treatment. Maybe I was just interested maybe to understand a bit more about the benefits of the roof that you're proposing. But I think it's great concepts. Looks good.
Commissioner Grunrud.
Thank you, Chair. Paul, I would just like to thank you and your team. There's a lot of work goes into dressing up an existing facility and trying to tie new construction into it. So I fully understand the amount of time and effort it takes, as well as the job you've done with the exterior. And it, like you said, it echoes the drive-in from Dogwood Street through all the trees that we're going to see some wood and some glass and not a big concrete warehouse. So thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. Well done. Over to you, Wolfgang.
Thank you so much. I just want to add a couple of things. I've been working with Robin and Make projects on relocation of staff. We need to come up with a plan of where we're going to keep the staff when the new aquatic center is being built and the existing building operational. So that is in progress right now. We're also going to be planning a session to determine what kind of equipment can be relocated or what kind of equipment needs to be purchased. And that will be costed and part of the report that is going to be provided by the QS advocates and also by the construction manager. So those are two pieces that are fundamental to this. We're also working very closely with the construction manager on the phasing, as well with HCMA, because it's really important to understand how that's going to work when we put the shovel on the ground. So that's all I have. And Director Brenda Lee, I was looking at reports from 2017 and 2018. The name Strathcona Gardens Recreate with the dash after the C is correct. And I believe all the slides and the reports and drawings that we have from HCMA are perfect. Nothing needs to be modified.
Okay, it just looks odd to me, but recreate, create.
Rec space, yes. That was the name given back in 2017. So,
yeah.
and it's being used consistently across. So yeah, just wanted to confirm that.
The big question I have now is like, what's the price tag on this?
What is the total cost that we are anticipating? So we're the latest report, the Class C estimate is showing a construction cost of $33 million. We're waiting for a Class B estimate that is scheduled to be completed towards the end of this month, and I will be providing this group with an update in the next meeting in April.
33 million so far?
I'm speaking about construction cost. The total cost for this project has been estimated at $49 million, and that includes the design, escalation, contingencies, but construction cost is 33.
So it's 49 plus 33?
No, 49 total.
49 total, okay.
That has
Okay.
that has been the budget that we introduced back in 2020 with a breakdown of soft and hard costs. Nothing
Okay.
has changed. We're trying to keep this project to align with that approved budget.
Okay.
That was the reason for the value engineering
But
exercise.
those are up-to-date numbers, because I know when we were wanting to build a new Campbell River Library for 14 million, the cost came in way above, like 6 million above that.
Yeah.
And, you know, construction costs and costs of materials went up so high. And I'm just wondering if that's still an accurate estimate of what it'll cost.
Directly, I will provide an update in the next meeting once I hear back from Advocas and Heather Bray, the construction manager, who is getting quotes directly from trades. The industry is so volatile. We all know that things are going up and down all the time. So best is to wait until we get the Class B estimate. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Good. Anything further? Wolfgang and Paul, the one thing that I had mentioned to Dave in reading the agenda in advance is I appreciate the reason that we did not have the next phase after this sort of included. It's there in the drawings, but it's for the rink 1 and the attachments that are planned. And my question more to you, Paul, is should we have that in there as to what the future vision is, but make it clearly state that this is outside of the scope of the current request, but it provides that holistic, complete concept that we have for the entire facility, not only for the immediate recreate, but also that we've been very very responsive in looking at the entire facility for future decades. Thoughts on that? Does that complicate the waters, or does that help?
No, I mean, if the purpose is simply to communicate through the design drawings that there is a future phase that's being contemplated, then we could add that sort of as a dashed line around the arena zone and just identify that there is a future phase there. There's been some thought put into it, but it's not part of the current scope as it stands right now. So we could add that.
Okay, thank you. Commission members, any comment on that?
I agree with that that aspect of it, that be included, that it is a thought that's been there for a long time and will continue to be until it's completed.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. I think that is a good recommendation.
Okay, thank you. So anything further, Paul or Wolfgang?
Nope, thank you for your time and your questions.
Thank you. Thank you for great work by both of you, and I really appreciate your expertise and sharing it with us. So I'll call the question on receipt of the presentation.
Move receipt.
Second.
Second.
Anyone opposed? That is carried. Thanks again. Moving on to the license agreement for the Campbell River Storm for receipt.
Move receipt.
It was moved by Commissioner Grunrud, seconded by Commissioner Evans. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, maybe if I can just add a little bit to this. The commission asked staff to work with the storm to look at extending the contract license agreement for the next 3 years, I believe. Negotiations went very well. I know there was an issue that the storm had requested internet access, and the interesting way telecoms worked, we put some money into some capital infrastructure there and provided that to the storm, and actually our bill went down a little bit, so that wasn't much of a problem. Terms of the deal were fairly easy to negotiate with the folks, and I think the only thing that maybe you may be interested in is that Robin can add to is some additional ice that we've included in the agreement for the storm, and happy to have Robin expand on that.
Thank you through the CAO to the chair and the commission members. In 2018, the commission approved an additional 1-hour skills session to be embedded into the contract, included in the monthly fee. There was a request to add 2 more sessions to that. One thing to note regarding those sessions is there is no competition for that ice time. It is during a time when the ice isn't used. The kids are in school. The storm do use that skill development for their team, as well as local kids that are on the brink of making the team and which are minor hockey players. So they do use that to coach, build some strength within the community. That's in addition to the current agreement, as well as we did adjust the term. The previous term was 24 months with an option to renew for a 3rd year. We've increased to 36 months with an option to renew for a 4th year. I think it's the terms are good, the contract's solid. I think it makes sense. It's very good for the community. And then there was also an addition to the contract to note the percent increase per year is at 103%. And then we've embedded the internet. The last change in the contract was previous contract had that the owner would purchase 10 tickets per game. That's been adjusted to 10 tickets per playoff game, which does offset the ice time or the skills development request.
Excellent. Commissioner Lee?
Oh, no, sorry, I forgot to put my hand down last time.
Okay, thank you, Robin. Great work. On receipt, is anyone opposed, or do we have it moved and seconded?
Yes, we have it moved and seconded.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyone opposed? That is carried. And moving on to correspondence, Campbell River Killer Whales Swim Club, request for assistance.
Mr. Chair, I think we had a few alternatives that we were hoping the commission would pick one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I would like to move option A of the alternatives, that the proposed license agreement with the Campbell River Storm Hockey Club be recommended for approval as written.
Second.
Any discussion? Anyone opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Thanks for catching that. On to the Campbell River Killer Whales Swim Club. Request for assistance, receipt of correspondence, please.
Move receipt.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, got a few things.
Commissioner Lee, go ahead.
Okay, I received a request for a grant and aid from the Killer Whales, as well as I always do almost every year. And I have already asked her to fill in a grant and aid form and send it to Edith Watson for processing at the regional district. And normally Area D would provide around $3,000 through $3,500 for killer whales. And so she's going to put in a grant and aid to Area D. I suggested she might be able to approach other jurisdictions that might give out grants. And also, we did give a break to another group, minor hockey, last month to hold BC Juniors Championship. And we gave them ice time that was worth 3,000. So, you know, and we have a policy about giving free, about reducing fees for groups. Is there any possibility that we could, under the policy, offer them a reduction in fees for some of their events? Like in the neighborhood of 3,000?
If I may, Mr. Chair, I'm not familiar with the policy about giving grants or funds to groups.
We had a policy about, it was in our fees and charges bylaw, the structure of our fees and charges, where, you know, we basically were trying to be consistent amongst different sports groups that might ask for reduction in rental fees. And there was something in that policy where we were trying to make it fair for anyone who applied, because this Killer Whales one came in quickly on the heels of us as a board deciding to give Campbell River Minor Hockey a $3,000 break on the ice rental for one of their tournaments.
And I appreciate that, Commissioner Lee. And just before I go to Commissioner Grenner, I see these as two different requests. One is requesting for hosting a provincial event.
Mhm.
This request is just for lost revenue due to an unfortunate job action. And I just caution against, no pun intended for the swimming, but a slippery slope, that we start going backwards for revenue lost that was can be attributed to both parties, that for only one party to then be providing financial compensation, I think may be difficult. Commissioner Gunner.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, two totally different things. The Denver Minor Hockey hosted, I believe, in 2008, the midget provincial championships. And now this is, if my math is right, 14 years later, a midget provincial championships. So it doesn't come around very often. And my concern would be if we start covering one group's proclaimed mileage and wear and tear on vehicles, et cetera, we'll be looking at minor hockey had to play a lot of games and practices in Gold River, North Island, the Comox Valley, Parksville, Port Alberni, you name it. They went all over the place for extra ice time. Men's League played games in the Comox Valley and Courtenay and Parksville and Oceanside, and the old timers did the same thing. This would be, as has been stated, a slippery slope to go down. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? So we are just on receipt. I'll just say in taking Commissioner Lee's comments, I mean, if they are looking to host a new event or something that are looking for assistance, then that would be a request for grant and aid. And I think that would be appropriate. With that, I will call the question on receipt. Is anyone opposed? That is carried. Anything further?
I would just like staff to look into what the policy was put in place for fee reductions for user groups that ask for special rates, because I'm pretty sure we had quite a solid policy, and we
That's
have
okay.
more than one pool user, you know, group. We've got Killer Whales, we've got Campbell River Swim Club, we've got the Red Cross Junior Lifeguards. All of those have had grants and aid from Area D in the past. And, you know, it would be nice to know if they start asking for concessions on pool usage for their tournaments and whatnot, what our policy actually is, because it was quite a long time ago. I don't really remember, but I think it was an attempt to be equitable to everyone.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Lee. I will take that as direction for staff to come back with information at the next commission meeting.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Thank you. Seeing nothing further, it's been a long afternoon. Anybody want to do something about it?
Move termination.
Chair, before there's a move and termination, is there, I know it's out there, but there's not only is the under 18, sorry, I have a tough time saying under 18 because it's always been midget hockey to me, but we're now not allowed to say midgets anymore. So the under 18 provincial championships here, the host team, Campbell River Thais, Peninsula from the South Island, South Delta and Hollyburn Winter Club from the Lower Mainland, Kelowna, Trail, Williams Lake, and Fort St. John will all be here Saturday, starting the tournament on Sunday, running through till the finals on Wednesday. Opening ceremonies shortly after 7 p.m. on Sunday. Secondly,
on Saturday.
The date is? What's the date?
This coming weekend.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Cal, when did you say the opening ceremonies were?
The teams are in town on Saturday. The games start on Sunday. There's 4 games a day. And the opening ceremonies are shortly after 7 p.m. on Sunday, the 20th.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
And apparently there's another substantial event coming to Campbell River about a month from now.
Yes, exciting one.
And
Hometown
that was the announcement that came out that Ron McLean and Tara Sloan will be here and setting up in the parking lot of the Maritime Heritage Center, as hometown hockey has been confirmed for mid-April around the Easter long weekend. It'll be a 2.5 day event with activities predominantly downtown, but also around Strathcona Gardens. And then the live broadcast from the Maritime Heritage Center on the Sunday night, on the Monday night, I believe.
And I have also been told by a little bird that Kyle, our very own Kyle Bakauskas, will be in town for the event.
I did put some queries in. They weren't sure whether he would get here or whether he would be on it live from Toronto. But I'm sure he is trying to do his magic to get home and try and get a family visit in at the same time.
I think he's asked his folks if his room is still available.
Ah, that's great.
Awesome. Good.
Whether they accept it or not, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Well, if they don't, we've got a room here for them.
Exactly.
I heard on the TV last night a quick ad that said Kraft Hockeyville was taking applications.
Yes.
Too, so that's happening.
Short timeline for that one, but I think that's one that we should be proactive in future years and get in on. But anyway, on termination, is anybody opposed?
Motion to adjourn.
Thanks, everybody. Great meeting. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
See you
everyone.
tomorrow.
Bye now.
Okay, bye.
See you at the rink next week.
Yeah, there we go.